So welcome back, guys. We are in day 4 of circular motion, and in yesterday's class, I've asked you to do something about the banking along with the friction. There are two cases where there is a slipping up case and there is a slipping down case. The case that you're looking right now on the screen is a slip up case, where I've taken the friction downwards. Let me just draw the diagrams again neatly. I haven't really received any response. I mean, I only received at least um, one or two responses from the students. So I'll just show it to you, only the basic diagrams of both the slipping up case and slipping down case. Okay. So you're looking at the back view of the car. Okay. mg, since we are in the frame of reference of the car, there is no acceleration to the car towards the center. Like I mentioned yesterday, we are in the frame of reference of car. So we are considering the pseudo forces here. So mv square by r is also there. And I suggested one thing, that take components along xy axis like this. This is xy axis here. I suggested this. This is a slipping up case. The car is going way too fast, so you are slipping up. So in this case, the friction is acting downwards. Okay, so I took components of forces, which are nothing but this mv square by r. This is theta. If this is theta, mv square by r cos theta, mv square by r sine theta. So since I've divided them into components, I've separated into two forces, I mean two components, and then mg cos theta, mg sine theta. Since I've mentioned this is from like an advanced level model, I think a lot of people left it that way, but you should at least given it a try, guys. I would have loved to see that. Okay. So this is how it is. A simple idea. The vertical forces, normal force must be equal to this. Horizontal forces, mg sine theta plus f equals to this. That's what I need to write. Normal force equals to mg cos theta plus mv square by r sine theta. The horizontal forces, mg sine theta plus friction equals to mv square by r cos theta. The horizontal cases, the horizontal forces are also balanced, and the friction value is nothing but mu n. You have to put this n here. You have to write a, you will get a very big equation, of course, so you'll do that. So this whole thing is a slip up case. In the slip down case, mg will be like this, normal force will be like this, and mv square by r will be like this, and except the friction is upwards this time. So this part will be on the other side. The only difference, everything else will be same. N equals to mg cos theta plus mv square by r sine theta. And then this equation changes a little. Mg sine theta equals to f plus mv square by r cos theta. You see that? Simply the friction is on the other side in this equation. That's the only difference. You do that, you solve the values of velocities, you will simply get them. No big deal. Okay. So that is the kind of problems are from slip up and slip down cases. Now after this, yeah, like from this point onwards, every problem that you face in circular motion, I suggest you to do with the pseudo force only. Like try to sit in the frame of reference of the circular motion, whatever the body is. If it is a car, if it is a container, if it is simply a ball. Okay, every time you have the problem, try to do the problem in the frame of reference of the body, so that everything is in equilibrium. There is no acceleration. You don't have to consider any kind of an acceleration. So which is a easy thing. Like you have a conical pendulum. Remember that? In conical pendulum, try to go into the frame of reference, write all the forces. Mg is there, tension is there, and the pseudo force is also there since you are in the frame of reference. Balance all the forces. There is no acceleration at all. Okay, there is no acceleration at all. Simply balance all the forces. You can have questions like a huge container is going in a circular motion. Okay, in the container there is a pendulum that is hanging. A pendulum is simply hanging in the huge container. It's not going in a circular, I mean, it is obviously going in a circular motion along with that. But the idea is the pendulum is in there. Because of this circular motion, the pendulum goes away like this, like it tilts. Why? What's the reason? Tension, mg. Because of this whole radius, because of this whole circular motion, you will have a mv square by r. So again, you'll simply have to equate all the forces. If you want to solve this problem in normal frame of reference, it gets a bit difficult. So that's why you sit in the frame of reference of the container, you try to solve the problem, it gets much easier. Okay. There is a problem in HC Verma where that container is going in a circular motion. The container is going in a circular motion. And there's a pulley system inside the container. Okay, there is no gravity. Gravity is vertically like, or he mentions there is no gravity at all. Okay, so the masses are M1 and M2. What will pull the masses? Tensions will be there, the tension will be there. But the important point is you'll have M2 V square by R, you'll have M1 V square by R, and these are the forces which are going to accelerate the body. If this accelerates this direction, this has to accelerate this direction. My pencil is almost about. Sir, can I explain up once again which part are now? I don't get which part did you, I mean, you didn't understand. Can you raise your hand so that I can speak? Arnav, this part, it is simple. It is as if there is a huge container. Okay, the whole container is going in a circular motion. Since you are in the container, you'll have to add the pseudo force mv square by r on every body. Like you have to add the pseudo force on you also. There will be some pseudo force on you that will be simply balanced by the friction from the ground. You don't have to solve the problem on you. You simply have to solve the problem of the pendulum, where the pendulum is not rotating here. The pendulum will simply get tilted. Do you remember the problem where the car is accelerating, the pendulum goes backwards? It is similar. It's a problem which is similar to that. Simply the pendulum is tilted, and that's all. So can you please, Neeti and Preeti, explain how to take the direction of mv square by r? I'm a bit confused. Neeti and Preeti, raise your hand once. I want to speak to you in person. Tell me, Neeti, Preeti.
Sir, how to take the directions? I'm just confused.
mv square by r is always in the outward direction only, like radially outwards.
Sir, in every case?
Yeah, in every case, like since you are in the frame of reference, that's why I told you, there won't be any confusion when you try to solve the problem using the pseudo force. Every time you have a body going in a circular motion, just try to go into the frame of reference of the body, stand inside, draw the pseudo forces, which are always radially outwards. mv square by r is always radially outwards. Okay, simply put them and try to look at the problem as a simple problem. Now, this is not a different problem anymore. Like there is no circular motion or there is nothing. You are simply sitting in a frame. In that frame, there is a pulley, and there are some forces acting on that pulley. mv square by r, mv square by r. I mean m1 v square by r, m2 v square by r. This mass is m2, this mass is m1, and you just have to simply solve the problem, just like the previous cases. Once you get inside the frame of reference and you take the pseudo forces, that's all. You get it now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it's a, it gets no, like the problem gets much easier this way. Every time you have a problem where you have to, there are problems in HC Verma. Let me show you that. Like in this specific problem, look at all these problems. Problem number 30, it's the same problem where the container is entirely going in a circular motion. In this thing, a car is going in a circular motion. There is a block and he talks about the block. Neeti, you have a doubt again or?
No, sir, nothing.
Yeah, you can go mute. Sharath, if they mention the gravity is vertically downwards. We are solving a problem in horizontal direction. We are solving a problem entirely in the horizontal direction, but gravity is acting vertical, right? So you don't have to worry about the gravity. I will discuss the problems of gravity right after this problem is over, but I'm asking you to, every time you see a problem in circular motion, just to, I mean, like simply look at the problem in much simpler manner. Try to look at the problem in a way, you know, as if there is some force, there is some additional force added, which is mv square by r, and that's it. Once you have that mv square by r, the problem is simply solved. Okay, so this is that problem. Problem number 28 is also easy. Problem number 29. Problem number 29 is also a similar one. Like, look at this question. These two men are actually going in circular motion. Basically, men like you know. So they're going in a circular motion. What do you do in a problem like this? You simply look at, take mv square by r here. Mg is acting downwards. There is some normal force here because he's only holding there, and there is some friction here. So that's it. He's not accelerating. Forget about acceleration, forget about circular motion. You are in the frame of reference of him. So that's why you consider the pseudo forces. Niti and Preeti clearly observe. This is a circular motion. I took the pseudo force clearly outwards. Okay. It's as simple as that. Arnav asks question number 30. Where is question number 30, Arnav? Question number 30 is easy again. Just like I mentioned right now. You simply take m1 v square by r, or in this case he doesn't mention v probably. He might mention omega. So m1 r omega square, m2 r omega square. The tension is there, T, tension is there, T, and that's it. The problem can be easily solved. Let us just imagine that this is accelerating downward, this is accelerating upward. There is no gravity. Gravity is vertically downward. So you don't worry about gravity or forget about gravity completely. You try to simply solve the problem normally, you'll get it. Okay, so that is there. The suggestion that I'm trying to clear is every time you face a problem from circular motion from now onwards, try to get into the frame of reference of the circular motion, and half of the problems are solved there. Okay, it gets much easier that way. All right. One more idea. Has anyone tried question number 20? Question number 20, just look at it. This is where we've started this idea in the beginning, but we've left it there. I told you people that we will come back there. What is that concept? Do you remember the idea where we talked about circular motion, but we took an example saying the velocity is always constant. The speed is, I'm sorry, not the velocity, the speed is always constant. So we only consider the uniform circular motions until now. Now I'm going to consider circular motion, which is not just uniform. We are talking about non-uniform circular motions also. Now we are talking about non-uniform circular motions also. Look at it. A body is going in a circular motion. We've always talked about it, that there is an acceleration called a radial in the direction towards the radial. And there were always forces. It could be tension, it could be gravitation, it could be friction. There are multiple cases where the forces are always supportive, and they used to give us the centripetal forces. So it was always handled. But there was something else. There was another component which is called as AT, a tangential. We considered that this is zero in the previous cases. In all the previous cases, we considered the V is zero, saying the circular, people are still joining. Aniket has typed a big doubt. Sir, Raghav is asking that during turning in banking of roads, we cannot always rely on the static friction as some external factors such as rain. Oh, Raghav is asking a very good doubt. Raghav, we will be discussing a lot about it right now. Uh, in banking, the reason why we need banking is we cannot completely rely ourselves on friction sometimes, because Raghav is saying, because there could be rain, there could be some irregularities on the road, there could be some oil spilled on the road, we never know. Because of all these reasons, there is a chance that you might slip away. So banking included with friction is like you being extra cautious. Okay, it's not just the racetracks that are built with banking. If you clearly observe, if you people live in Hyderabad, the best example that I can give you for banking is on the ring road at the exit number 17, I guess. Somewhere in between exit number 17, I guess it is exit number 17. The road is actually a bit banked. It is actually clearly banked at the exit number 17, right before you reach the, what do you say, airport is exit 16, I guess. So at the exit 17, the road is a bit banked. You can clearly see that. Okay, the best example that you can see. For other cities, I'm not really sure in Warangal or no, I don't ever see anything on Karnool Highway. Karnool Highway is pretty much straight. So if any of you people are from that road, I don't think you might have seen that. But on the ring road, next time you go, when you're going from what do you say? From Gachibowli to airport. On that road at exit number 17, you will see a exit. Okay, just give me 1 second. Even urgent class lo unna. So I'm sorry about that. So where was I? So at exit number 7, in parking lots of many malls, they have banking. No, in parking lots they don't have banking, Sumantraj, because you don't have that much of speed. Okay, that's not called banking. They simply have the roads tilted, like they're rolled up just like that. That is not called banking. Okay, when the road is vertically up like this, that is not called banking. When you're going this way and the road is tilted like this, that is called banking. Okay, so at exit number 17, you can actually see that the banking. Okay, now I'm coming back to this point, the tangential acceleration. Radial acceleration is also there, and the tangential acceleration. Can anybody give an example where there is tangential acceleration also? Raise of hands, please. Can anybody tell me any example where you're talking about non-uniform circular motion? We are talking about non-uniform circular motion. Okay, Aniket has an answer. Let's see. Aniket, what's your answer?
Sir, when we are rotating a bob with a string and we keep increasing the speed.
Oh, that is a good question. You're making, you're whirling a circular motion, right? You're whirling a body, a stone, let us just say, tied to a string, and you're whirling it in a horizontal circular motion. You're saying it is a non-uniform circular motion, right?
Yes, sir. If we continuously keep increasing.
No, that is a good example. I'll tell you why it is wrong. Okay, if it is just a circular motion, using tension, you are giving the radial acceleration. But who is giving the tangential acceleration in that case? Can you tell me, Aniket, right? Aniket, why did you mute yourself? Stay. Yeah. Who is providing you the tangential acceleration for the body?
I don't know that one, sir.
Exactly. When we actually do that, when we are trying to whirling it, but try to whirl it, you clearly understand one point, that we are not keeping the center at the same point. We're actually changing the point of center. So when you're doing this, you're not actually letting the body go in a circular motion. That is one of the biggest mistakes that you people might do. You're actually not letting it go in a circular motion. When you're doing this, you're constantly changing the position of center. So that is not a circular motion in the first place. Since the position is changed, let us say you're hanging it from here, from this point, the string is like this. Okay. Now, in this case, the tensions, one component is radial, one component is tangential, and it is going in a circular motion. But first of all, it is not a circular motion if you do that. Fan. Neeti says fan. Okay, Neeti and Preeti, whoever it is, they say fan. Yeah, fan is in a rotational motion. You shouldn't talk about fan. You can talk about, let us take, what example? Let us say you stick
Sir,
a,
can I give one example?
what is it?
Sir, a person is running in a lift and he keeps increasing his speed while running.
In a lift.
A lift that is rotating round, sir.
Okay, lift is rotating round and he's running which direction?
In some direction, sir, he is running in the same direction as the lift is rotating.
Aditya already has an answer. Real car races. Aditya, that's a good answer. I was expecting that. Neeti and Preeti, you also gave me the right answer, but let me tell you the better idea about it. Let us just imagine a bubble gum sticking onto the fan. Okay, I couldn't think of better example. So as a fan is getting speeded up, we all know that, let us just imagine the bubble gum is sticking onto the fan using friction only. Okay, I'm not sure about what kind of adhesive forces they have to stick there. So that adhesive forces are giving both radial and tangential forces. It is as if the fan is trying to take it forward and trying to make it go in a circular motion. Though, so the force from the fan, which is actually in this direction, in a specific direction, a component of it is actually giving some radial acceleration, a component of it is actually giving the tangential acceleration. A combination of these two forces are actually making the bubble gum going in a circular motion, which is non-uniform. Now the fan is speeding up here, the omega, the v, whatever the things, all the things are actually changing. Okay, so that is the idea. Arnav, the question is, can you give me an example for a non-uniform circular motions? Okay. Sir, windmill. Yeah, once you talk about fan, you can talk about all the examples. But let me talk about the real life car races. Let us take a car. Let me divide this whole thing into separate parts. Okay, not the car. I mean the whole idea. Let us consider this is a sports car. Again, with the branding of exam tracker and the. So the car is going in a circular motion. Now, on that day, the idea of rolling friction, I will explain it at the end of this class. I don't want to take a detour here. Okay, clearly observe. The friction was clearly responsible for the car to go in a circular motion, right? Friction was responsible. But if only when there is only radial acceleration. But if only there is some tangential acceleration also, it should also be supplied by the friction only. So in the end, I should say the friction doesn't act in this direction or in the forward direction. The friction actually acts. I will tell you how it acts in the forward or sideward direction later. Okay, don't pull it right now. Don't pull that point right now. I will explain it. All right. Yeah. The friction actually acts in this direction. Some part of the friction gives us the radial, F radial, let us call it as, and some part gives us F tangential. So when you are in a turn, when you are in a turning, the friction, the whole friction, the maximum friction that you can give is mu mg. Okay. So both the radial acceleration and the tangential acceleration also, both the radial acceleration and the tangential acceleration also responsible for the car to go in the circular motion. Okay, the friction has to provide both the radial and the tangential forces. Clearly remember the same umg value. Somebody asked a question, sir, but car will not start doing in an elliptical motion when the tangential acceleration is acting because the centripetal force remains the same. No, the centripetal force doesn't remain the same. That is the point. Let me completely clear this thing. If only the car was going in a circular motion, but with constant speed. Let us consider a car. That car is just moving at a constant speed, v constant. The whole friction, which is mu ng, is only providing you the radial acceleration. But when the car is trying to accelerate also, when there is tangential acceleration, the whole friction has to provide both the radial and tangential accelerations, which is a bad thing. So the important idea that you need to remember is, for sports cars, it's not a safe thing to accelerate or decelerate, speed up or slow down in the turning. Okay, so they don't tend to use the turning to speed up or slow down. They slow down right before the turning, they speed up right after the turning, but in the turning they always try to maintain the speed, the same speed. They always try to maintain the same speed. Okay, so in the turnings they always try to do this, but if only in the turning they try to accelerate, the tires need to be a lot more, useful. Otherwise they have a chance that they might skid away. Okay, so in the turnings they don't do that. In the turnings they don't tend to accelerate or decelerate. They decelerate right before the turning, they accelerate after the turn. During the turning, if they try to accelerate or decelerate, it's a bad case. Now, simple question, whenever they are turning, there will be pseudo force. If I am the car driver, if I'm in the frame of reference, there will be some pseudo force mv square by r. Does anyone know the amount of pseudo force that they experience? I've recently posted an Instagram post on this. The amount of pseudo force that they have. Anybody answer? No? It sometimes almost reaches 5 mg. The value almost reaches 5 mg. Do you know that? I have the thing opened here, right here. Of course, it crashed. Yeah, right here. Can you see that? I clearly see in the turning, you can clearly see the he gives the pseudo force also 5 point almost 5.5 G. It's 3.6 G now. Let me try to pause it in the right point. DRS is not the DRS that they have in your cricket matches. Okay, this DRS is different for F1 races. Mm, yeah, watch that. It's almost 5.3 G. The amount of pseudo force that that is feeling is 5.3 G. Trust me, this is not a easy thing. It's a very difficult thing to feel that much of pseudo force when you're actually turning. Okay. Arnav asks, then how is it a non-uniform circular motion? No. I just gave an example. If you want to have a non-uniform circular motion in a turning with a car, it's not safe. You can definitely go. If you are going, that's what happens. That's what I'm trying to tell. Okay. It's not the safe thing to do when you're in a circular motion to make a turning. Like when you're making a turn, try not to accelerate or decelerate, because the friction that is there, it should be responsible for both the acceleration and deceleration, which is not a good thing. Okay. So this problem, the problem number 20 that you have there, it is actually depending on that. There is some radial acceleration also. The friction coefficient is also given. At which speed the car will skid, that is the question. So in that question, when you try to solve, you have to take this as a case. Let us just imagine the car driver is a stupid driver. So just imagine the friction is like this, μmg value. The friction's component is providing you the centripetal, and the component is providing you the tangential acceleration. So simply take some theta. You try to approach this problem now. I hope, I'm sure you'll try to solve this question very easily. If you're facing it difficult, I'll try to find a way to solve it to you again later. Okay. Now, once that problem is over, there is one more last idea that I want to discuss and end the class. I have to be somewhere else right now. I'm running late. So let me discuss that idea. One last idea. There is vertical circular motion, but I am not discussing the entire idea of vertical circular motion today. Let me remind you that I'm not discussing the entire idea of vertical circular motion today, because there is a big topic. There is an important part of vertical circular motion that comes later. Okay, I will discuss that part of circular motion later. Now, this circular motion, like in the vertical circular motion only, we are only going to deal with a very simple thing, which is when a pendulum is going in a vertical circular motion, he already mentions that the body has some velocity here, v. So he asks the tension in this case, like he talks about tension. I would say simply, mg is there. I'm standing on the pendulum, so there will be mv square by r. Since I'm standing on the body, there is no circular motion anymore. Everything is at equilibrium. So tension equals to mg plus mv square by r. That's all. Tension equals to mg plus mv square by r. It's a very simple idea. Sir, question 20, we should use a equal to v square by r, of course. So in these pendulum problems, every time he asks about circular motions, vertical circular motions, you simply need to look at the problem. I mean, like you don't. The problem is the other idea, the other end of vertical circular motion is we will talk about here, we will talk about here, we will talk about here. Sometimes we will even talk about here also. Comparing all these ideas will be much difficult. I will talk about that topic later, not in this week's syllabus. Okay. The only vertical circular motion that we'll be talking is very small. Like there is a biker who is trying to go in a circular motion like this. He only talks about this point. Like when the biker is here, the speed is v. Okay. So the mg is downwards, normal force is upwards. Since this is a circular motion, you write mv square by r radially outwards, and everything is done. You simply equate all the forces. N plus mv square by r equals to mg. N plus mv square by r equal to mg. That's it. Arnav asks T equals to mg plus ma. Right? That's what I wrote. T equals to mg plus ma. Ma is nothing but that value. Okay. So in this problem, like when the biker is here, this is interesting, guys. Watch this thing. When the biker is in this part, he is going in a circular motion like this. So mv square by r actually goes downwards now. And obviously mg is downwards like all the time. And normal force is upwards. And you simply write the forces and you solve the problem. Okay, so I'm limiting you the idea of vertical circular motion for now. I'm entirely discussing the part. I'm only limiting you to this part only. And tomorrow we will be discussing about a lot more problems. Okay, I will be discussing one last conceptual idea, and after that I will be discussing a lot more problems, and by tomorrow we will be wrapping up this topic. Okay, so I hope I cleared everything for you people. I'm not able to clear the doubts today because I'm running late for something. So I will discuss, if you have any doubts, try to text me. I will try to clear your doubts, and we will discuss the topic, rest of the topic tomorrow, so that we can do it easily. All right. So thanks so much, guys. If you have any doubts, don't hesitate to text me. Thanks so much, and bye bye.